Hey everybody, Roy Cannaday here, and today I want to do a little bit of a different top 10 list. This is going to be my top 10 tips on how to win board games. And pretty much for the most part, I like to play board games casually and not worry too much about winning them. But I have in the past played in a lot of competitive card game tournaments, and I've even played Dune Imperium tournament with Mr. Beast himself as well. And just I wanted to give a few general tips and my thoughts on how to do even better in board games, especially if you're looking at trying to win or maybe even compete. I mean, we have the World Series of Board Gaming now, which a lot of people go out to and try to do their very best and compete in board games. So here are a few of my tips on how to do really well in tabletop board games. So the first one here, my number 10, and I started off, and these are not in a very particular order overall, even though I wanted to start off with this first one here just because I think it's so basic and so simple, and that is focus on the objective and points. I mean, when you're playing a game, you should be going after those things that are going to give you the most victory points and just paying attention to like the best. What is the point of the game? How do you win? Go towards that. And so many people when they play games, they get distracted by this shiny thing or that shiny thing. What's going to get you points? What's going to lead you to the objective that you need to overcome your opponents and do better than they are? If you can stay focused on getting victory points as fast and as many as possible, then you're going to be the winner. Which I mean seems super obvious, but for a lot of people, sometimes they end up getting caught up in the weeds and getting distracted by different things. So number 10, focus on the objective and points. So my number 9 here is something that also seems super obvious, but be well rested. If you're super tired when you go into a game, you're not going to be in the right headspace to be super thoughtful about all of your moves and all of your plays. And I know a lot of people like to stay up super late and like crunch through stuff or like play gaming super late and things like that. But if you're not well rested, you're not going to be on your A game the same way as if you had enough sleep. And there's a lot of scientific and like sleep studies out there that prove that like even though you're asleep, your brain is still working and you're able to like kind of like learn things and memorize things, and the neuron pathways in your brain are becoming stronger and being able to figure out those strategies. If anybody's played like games like hardcore, like especially like for tournaments, and you've played a game so much, if you haven't dreamed about that game, then like that's crazy, because I used to dream about card games all the time and like game design all the time, and like your brain, even while you're asleep, is still trying to help you solve problems in your waking world. Like even though you're dreaming, you're still being able to figure things out. And it just makes you like that much smarter about that specific thing that you're focused on. So your brain is still trying to help you out with all of that stuff. And that is my number 9, be well rested. My number 8 here is know when to pivot. If you're working on a long-term strategy and it's not working out, know when the correct time to change up strategies or do something different. Just pay attention to what the other players are doing. Like say you're doing a specific strategy and another player starts doing that same thing and you can see it coming. The fact that they're going to be trying to grab the same things as you, they're going to be getting in your way and blocking you. Knowing when to pivot and changing up your strategy to be on your toes and being able to, I don't know, just don't be stuck in one lane of play. Like if you're like, I'm going to force a strategy to work, it's probably not going to work for you if other players are also competing for that same strategy. You need to know where to go and when to bob and weave to be able to get the correct cards or the correct achievements or the correct anything depending on the game. So knowing when to pivot and changing up your strategy can be huge in doing better in a game. So just don't be focused on one specific thing. Understanding like long-term strategy is important, but don't be like end all be all. Know how to be flexible when it comes to gameplay and figure out the best way to maximize victory points and the best way to complete objectives during the game. So knowing when to pivot is the number 8. So my number 7 here is a little bit interesting. This probably applies more to card games, but can also apply to board games as well, and that's playing counter to meta. So if there's a specific strategy that everybody's playing or a specific thing that everybody knows is like, this is the best way to play the game, this is how you should be doing, this is the colors you should be playing in Magic, this is the kind of deck you should be building, this is the strategy that everybody plays. Figuring out a counter strategy to that will be able to help you have that competitive edge. Like being able to be like, okay, everybody's playing this deck. I'm going to play the deck that beats that deck. Everybody plays this strategy. When everybody plays the game, they do this strategy and they do this and this. Well, what works best when other people are doing that strategy? Do something completely different that catches everybody off guard, and you'll be able to have a competitive advantage in the game. So being able to play counter to meta is huge, especially if like you know that everybody's doing this specific thing. Doing something different is not only other people are going to be looking for that meta, and they're not going to know how to react to the counter meta. They're not going to know how to stop you in the ways that you're doing it. So this is going to be very game dependent as well. So figuring out ways to play counter to the meta is another huge thing for winning board games. Another thing here is minimizing misplays. This seems like an easy, simple thing to state. It's like, don't play bad is how you win board games. But there's just those little micro small things in board games that people forget or miss. Like, oh man, I meant to exhaust this to get this extra resource for this thing. And now a whole round has gone by and I missed the opportunity to do that. Just making sure you don't misstep, especially on the tiny things. Make sure you're maximizing every little bit of all of your resource management, all of your card play, all of your different stuff. Make sure you see everything that's happening on the table and paying attention to what's going on. Oh, I didn't realize they had that power. Oh, I didn't realize their character could do that. Oh, I didn't realize this happened. Minimizing misplays on yourself is going to make you a much better player. And a lot of that has to do with learning the game super well. So just figuring out how to like stop playing bad or stop making simple mistakes as you play the game. It's going to make you a much better player and going to help you win even more board games. Just figuring out how to pay attention, be smart, and not misplay will be a huge part in doing better in board games. So that's minimizing misplay, my number 6. My number 5 is play with other amazing players. If you are playing the game with other high-level players, this is just going to help your game, like up your game so much more. If you're playing with people that are just don't care about the game that much, and if you really don't want to be playing competitively against casual players anyway. But if you want to up your game to the next level, if you want to get better, you need to surround yourself with people that are playing at high level play as well. Especially if you're trying to go into a tournament setting or where you're actually going to be playing competitively, you want to be having that like think tank of people to be able to help give feedback on this strategy or that strategy, or this thing works, or that card's amazing, or oh man, everybody plays that, but that card's overrated, or I played this character a bunch of times and this is a really good way to play that. Having those people around you, because I mean, more brains are better than one, so being able to play with a lot of amazing players and being able to surround yourself with people that know that game really, really well is huge. And especially just like you're not gonna wanna sharpen yourself on people that are dull. You know, you are gonna sharpen yourself with other like sharp people that are gonna be able to like help make your strategies and your tips and all of those things even better. So playing with amazing strategic players, even if you get crushed, you're gonna learn way more by getting crushed by a great player and seeing their strategy than playing on people that don't care about the game as much. So playing with awesome players and amazing players at that game, it's going to make it even better. So that's my number 5. My number 4 here is exploiting combos. I know sometimes this is super cheesy for people to be like, oh, well, that's kind of broken or that's kind of broken. If you want to have a competitive advantage in games, sometimes figuring out combos that work really, really well, especially if it's things that people haven't seen before. This is huge in like the collectible card game space of like finding a card combo that just like breaks the meta or just does this crazy stuff that people haven't seen before. And it doesn't normally last that long because other people will get a grasp on it or know how to counter it or know how to do different things. But finding those cool combos in a game, like this card and this card work together in such good synergy, or this and this allows me to maximize my victory points or be able to use all this stuff. So many board games and card games have combos in them, so being able to figure out how to exploit those combos and use those things together. It's like, man, I got this card, I really need that card to come out of the deck, and then if I get that together, that's just gonna really make things sing. I remember I used to play collectible card games back in the day, and there were so many just different combos you can come up with and find that you can use and just can completely blow people away when you play the game. So exploiting combos in games is another great way to win games. And another thing here, my number 3, is just don't get distracted. I know that this kind of goes back to focusing on the objective, but then there's just a lot of distractions that can come up in the game, like just being able to focus on the game and paying attention to what you're doing. But then on top of that, like if you're trying to be really, really good at one game, filling your head with lots of other strategies from completely different games or completely other things are going to add distractions into your being able to play the game. This is specifically if you're trying to like win a tournament for a very specific game. You want to be not distracted by other things. It's like, oh, I really, really want to get good at Arc Nova. You should be playing Arc Nova over and over again and not playing a ton of different other things and trying to learn a bunch of different strategies at a wide breadth. You should be focusing on and not being distracted on that specific game you're trying to win. So like if I'm competitively playing Magic over and over again, I want to play my same deck so that way I'm not just like I know that deck inside and out and I'm not distracted by all the things around. And also just paying attention to the game. Put all the distractions aside, put everything out of the way, and just focus on the game itself, and that'll help you play the game better. And my number 2 here is do your research. So in a board game, make sure you know all of the cards in the game, what are all of the variables, what are common strategies people use, what are all of the different things, what are the different avenues, how are other players currently playing the game. You should know all of this stuff. Make sure to do your research for it. If like it's a new set coming out for a card game or a collectible card game you're playing, know all those cards inside and out. Like there's a spoiler list that comes out for a lot of these games and you can like read up on all of the cards and learn how to do all that stuff. When I would go to Magic the Gathering like pre-releases, I would read all of the cards and make sure I had all that stuff like known to me. It just helps with cognitive load. If you're looking at the picture of a card and you immediately know what the card does, it's way easier than reading through the card each time you play it. When you're playing in a board game, it's the same thing. If you see the picture of a card, you should be able to know what that card does without having to read the text exactly on the card. Because if you see the card come up over and over again, it's like, okay, I know it's this one, I know it's that one. So when you can look across the table, see the picture of the card and be like, that's the card that works with my combo. I know that's going to work well with me. So being able to do the research on the game, knowing the game inside and out is going to help you so much because cognitive load is such a big thing in games. Like if you're able to shortcut all the simple rules and all the simple parts of the game, you're going to be able to focus your brain on like focusing on like the bigger, deeper strategies or what your opponents may be doing or paying attention to how they're playing the game, which is just going to give you that much more of a competitive advantage. Which leads me to my number 1, which is play the game over and over and over and over and over again. The more you play a game, the better you're gonna be at it. That's just the way it is. So, and you're just gonna have, like, once again, cognitive load is a big deal in these games. Like, the more you know the game inside and out, the more you're not gonna have to think and second guess the strategies and the things you're doing in the game. And while other players are like reading cards or trying to figure out how things work, you're just going to be able to immediately, quickly do all the things. And then when it comes to those tough decisions of like, okay, what's my percentage chance of this coming up? What's this gonna happen? Or like, is this a point that I need to pivot on this strategy? Or, oh, they got this piece of my combo, I need to figure out a way to do this thing now. You're gonna be able to solve those bigger problems and those bigger like puzzles that you have to do if you're able to just look at the game and know what everything does. Okay, first turn, I need to go to this space. If somebody's already in that space, my next strategy is to go to that space. If somebody's already in that space, then I probably should be going here just to block them from going to that space. And sometimes figuring out how to counterplay your opponents and all that stuff is extremely important as well. So just knowing the game inside and out, the more you play it, the better you're gonna do. So that is my tips for how to win board games. I know most people are kind of like, I'm not gonna play games at any sort of competitive level to that extent. And I'm right there with you. I like to play games casually. Honestly, I have too many issues with people getting upset with me for winning games as it is, but it is interesting to take a look at how you can hone and craft your skills and be better at a game. So yeah, get out there if you're looking at specific games, especially if you're trying to play them in tournaments, like figure out that game, play it over and over again, find the best players in the world and play against them. That's just gonna make you that much better at the game. Anyway, I've been Roy Cannaday. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Leave in the comments down below if you have some more tips on how to win board games. And let me know what game you think you would be the best at. What's the best game that you think you can really crush people in? Anyway, I've been Roy Cannaday. I'll see you on the next one.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.